Okay, we are live.
Okay, then. Thank you so much, Josephine, and good evening to everyone. We wish to welcome you to our Community Board 10 General Meeting. Today is January 23rd, 2023, and we are ready to begin our agenda this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance. May I ask you to please stand, salute, and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. The first item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda. May I ask Josephine and Dorothy to please check if we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Yes, we do. Board
And is that seconded?
Second.
Steve and Diane.
Great. And now we will need to have an adoption of the minutes from the December 19th meeting.
So moved.
I see
Okay,
Steve.
Steve. And is that seconded, Josephine?
Yes, it is. Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We need a
And-
vote. Did we vote?
I'm
All in
sorry.
favor?
All in favor. Sorry, I apologize. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, we have all hands up.
Thank you. All right. So next we will have our public session. We have several speakers for tonight. The first speaker we have is Jessica Callow from Brooklyn Borough President Reynoso's office. Is Jessica here this evening?
I didn't see her yet. I know that she signed up, so maybe we'll get back to her. I
Okay.
did see Council Member Brannon is in the room. Jane.
Wonderful, wonderful. We welcome Council Member Brannon.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Joe. Good to see everybody. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope everyone's 2023 is going well so far. Happy Lunar New Year, Year of the Rabbit to everyone that celebrates. The rabbit symbolizes peace, which I think we could all use right now. We had a very good year in 2022. We brought back almost $28 million in long-term investments in the community. This was money that was committed towards capital improvements and renovations to our public schools, our parks, our playgrounds, our libraries, our courts. And we brought back about $5.5 million to local nonprofits and also nonprofits across the city that are doing a lot of important work, from feeding the hungry to keeping seniors from being evicted. And we had 60 bills passed, from strengthening environmental protections to tackle the climate crisis, to supporting business improvement districts all across the city. Now in my role as finance chair, I get to do a lot of work with bids all across the city, which is very rewarding. So it was a very busy year at City Hall. Tomorrow actually is going to be our first property tax information session at our district office. So we're going to try to do a couple of them as the NOPVs, the notice of property values, start going out. We want to make sure that folks are taking advantage of all the different rebates and relief programs that are out there. The road to real property tax reform is there. Ultimately, we need help from the governor and our colleagues in the state. But in the meantime, I want to make sure that everyone who homeowners and co-op and condo owners are all taking advantage of the relief programs that you might be eligible for. Some folks don't even realize that they're eligible for some of the relief programs that are out there. We've had a busy couple of weeks cutting ribbons on new businesses. Over the weekend, we cut a ribbon on a new coffee spot on 68th and 4th called City League Roasters. It's great to see new businesses opening up We had a couple of really tough years there during COVID. So seeing businesses that are planting their flag and opening up in our neighborhood is really exciting. And we hope to have some exciting information on 86th Street. We've been working on that for the past almost 2 years, trying to come up with a real revitalization program for the entire corridor. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to have something that we can share publicly imminently. Lastly, I want to remember a neighbor, Norm Fruchter, who was killed by a driver while crossing 68th Street a few days before Christmas. Norm was a famous civil rights activist and education activist. This is not how Norm's life was supposed to end. I honestly can't keep track of how many traffic lights and speed bumps and stop signs and slow zones and that we've had successfully fought to have installed around the neighborhood over the past 10 years. But there's still no substitute for personal responsibility and practicing safe driving habits when you're behind the wheel. So we gathered last week to remember Norm. It's just very, very tragic way for it's not how it was meant to end for him. So with that, I again wish everyone a great 2023. Let's all stay safe and stay healthy. My office is always here for you. My staff is always here for you. And thank you, Community Board 10, for all the important and great work that you do.
Thank you. And thank you for the great work that you do on behalf of our community. We see that we have from the mayor's office, Anastasia Yaskova is here. Did
Yes.
Anastasia want to speak?
Yes, good evening. I'll be brief. Good evening, everyone. Great to be here. Thank you for having me. Just wanted to bring greetings on behalf of the mayor's office to wish everyone happy and healthy New Year. Happy Lunar New Year for those who celebrate. And just wanted to thank Community Board for amazing work that you do. Thank you so much for taking great care of your community. Always here to help, to assist, and please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We also have from Council Member Alexa Avalas's office, Rob Aguilar is here this evening. Rob? I believe he had been in the
Attendee, yes, I have him here.
ending. If you could just, thank you.
Sure. Okay, Rob, you should be able to unmute.
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Happy New Year and happy Lunar New Year to all those who celebrate. Just some really quick announcements. This coming Saturday, January 28th, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., we are going to have our Sunset Park Lunar New Year celebration at the park in front of the Recreation Center, located at 4200 7th Avenue. So everyone is invited. We do have new office hours. We kind of took notice that we needed to extend and have late office hours. So our late evening is Wednesdays, and on Wednesdays we see constituents from 9:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. So if you need to come by our office, we're open till 7 p.m. Mondays, we're open 9:30 to 5:30. Tuesdays, 11 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Wednesdays, 9:30 to 7, and Thursdays, 9:30 to 5:30. Now, now that we're in full swing of tax season, last year we had a free tax prep day at our office, and it was only held for a day, and all the appointments filled up within minutes. So this year, we're going to extend that service completely free to the community, but we're going to expand it significantly. So we will have free tax prep service starting January 31st all the way through April 13, 2023. And you can make an appointment by calling 347-502-6804. That's 347-502-6804. And that is open to the community, and we'll be servicing constituents in English, Spanish, Mandarin, and Arabic. Also, there's a new senior housing, affordable housing building that we're probably all very familiar with over on 63rd and 4th Avenue. We are assisting seniors in filling out the Housing and Rent Connect application to apply for the lottery. You don't need an appointment. All you have to do is come into our office, and one of our team members will assist you in filling out the application. And again, we want to wish everyone a happy new year and a healthy and prosperous one. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You, okay. Is Jessica Callow here now or no?
Yeah, I'm over here. Sorry
Hi,
about that.
Jessica. No worries.
Hello, everyone. I'm from Borough President Reynoso's office. My name is Jessica. So a couple things. First off, obviously, the community board applications. The season closes February 14th. So if you haven't gotten in your applications yet, please get them in. We have our comprehensive planning effort. That is, we have our existing conditions report out. It's about how planning should move going forward with zoning and health and all of that. And I know just how involved Community Board 10 is on those items. So I strongly recommend that anybody who hasn't had a chance to read it, please read our existing conditions report. You can comment on it and make recommendations until January 31st. For such an involved board, I really recommend it. And lastly, we are advocating, we're getting really involved with the BQE redesign effort. We're advocating for a much greener, environmentally safe, sustainable BQE project. So stay tuned on that, but we have a lot going on getting involved in that project as well. Other than that, I hope everybody had a happy holiday season. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica. And next we have Richie Barsamian from Assembly Member Alec Krasny's office. Josephine, do you see
Yeah.
him?
I saw
Okay.
him just a few minutes ago.
All right. Okay, we'll skip ahead and come back to him. Is he here? All right, just somebody coughing. Next, we can then welcome Nancy Lulu from DA Eric Gonzalez's office.
Hi, good evening. Hope everyone had a great start to the new year. I would like to extend greetings on behalf of DA Gonzalez to everyone. I just wanted to reflect on the outstanding work of the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office for the past year. I'm happy to report that public safety in Brooklyn continued to improve over the past year. Working with our law enforcement and community partners, we reduced gun violence, with shooting incidents down 14% and murders down 8%. Over the past year, the Brooklyn DA's office also extended and expanded its engagement efforts across Brooklyn communities, an important part of the district attorney's goals of strengthening communities' trust in the legal system. DA Eric Gonzalez is committed to targeting the most violent individuals and to growing our partnership with community-based groups, violence interrupters, and others who are engaged in preventative strategies. We have more work to do, but we are on the right path. I also would like to share that the Brooklyn DA's office will be holding in honor of National Human Trafficking Prevention Month. The Brooklyn District Attorney's Office will host a public awareness event called Empowered: Creating Change and Preventing the Exploitations of Youth. The event aims to educate our community about how to identify and to prevent child trafficking. It will be held Thursday, January 26th, in partnership with Safe Horizon. the Office of Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso, and Brooklyn Human Trafficking Task Force. So the event will take place on the 26th at Brooklyn Borough Hall. The reception starts at 5 and the event is from 6 to 8 p.m. And you could RSVP at bkhumantrafficking at brooklynda.org. As always, I would like to conclude with providing our Action Center's phone number. If there's something you would like to address with our office, you could call 718-250-2340. And I would like to conclude with thanking Community Board 10 for all that you do. And looking forward to working with everyone. Happy Lunar New Year.
Thank you so much, Nancy. We can move now to Tori Kelly from State Senator Andrew Gennardis's office.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Tori Kelly. I'm from State Senator Andrew Gennardis's office. Happy New Year. Happy Lunar New Year. I'll be brief. The senator is up in Albany right now. The legislative session started about 2 weeks ago. So in addition to working on street safety, sexual harassment reform, MTA, the things that he's really worked on a lot, he introduced a working family tax credit bill, which would be direct cash assistance to folks. And we believe that it would reduce child poverty by 20%. He's really working on making sure that that gets in the budget. And we'll be, probably sending some more information to you all about that. We've been hearing a lot of folks talk about the Brooklyn bus redesign. I'm sure that might be a discussion in some of the reports. February 9th is the CB10 MTA meeting. And so we really encourage you all to go, let your voices be heard. We want to stress that this is still right now a draft plan. And so that's why your feedback is so important. And lastly, we'll be hosting an affordable housing info session for the senior affordable housing that has long been built on 6309 4th Avenue. That's right in CB10, I believe. There's going to be a Zoom info session on January 24th and February 27th. There's 84 units and really want to make sure that everyone knows how to apply to that. So I'll also send the flyer to CB10 if they haven't already put it in their newsletter. Anyway, really good to see you all. Thanks so much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Tori. Next, we have Ling Zhang Yi from Congressmember Dan Goldman's office.
Ling, you should be able to speak now. You can unmute yourself. You can, or press the space bar.
Okay, yeah. Good evening. Thank you, everybody.
Good evening.
Okay. I'm so happy to be. I'm happy and honored to be here on behalf of Congressmember Dan Goldman, who is proud to be the new federal representative for residents of New York Congressional District 10. Although there's a short delay in getting sworn into the office, as everybody knew, was the speaker mess up in Washington, D.C. Our team has hit the ground running. Our district office is being renovated, and then we will move in February. Our district office will be at 340A 9th Street. It's between 5th Avenue and 6th Avenue. But in the meanwhile, our telephone and a website has opened for constituent service. Our district office phone number is 718-312-7575. And we also take constituent inquiries and constituent case assistance requests on our website at goldman.house.gov. As the tax season is coming up, the cases we do, we generally take federal agency cases. So that means it could be IRS as the tax season is gearing up, or Postal Service, immigration, small business administration, you name it. Anything federal falls under our jurisdiction. And in the district line, I think up we have all of Owlshead Park and then all the way along. This is a new, this is a year when the new district line takes effect. So pretty much everything north of 68th Street is in District 10. And then the district line goes all the way down to along 68th Street to Fort Hamilton Parkway, and then going into Borough Park. Congressmember Dan Goldman, in his first months in Congress, he has co-sponsored a number of legislations on affordable housing, promoting good government and integrity, and protecting reproductive rights, as well as environmental justice and promoting democracy. And most importantly, as New Yorkers, safety has been a top issue for our community. He is the vice chair of a bipartisan working group in the House that's aiming to address gun violence issues, and it's aiming to address the pipelines of illegally smuggled guns from some states into the across state lines, flowing into the black market. And yeah, that's about it. And we look forward to work with this community. And please don't hesitate to contact us for any issues you have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have Lori Windsor is here from Representative Nicole Malliotakis's office.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see everyone. We're in the same place, same bat channel, as they say, 7716 3rd Avenue, right across from Greenhouse Cafe, same phone number. I'll put it in the chat. And our exciting news is that the Congresswoman is now on Ways and Means Committee. So we're really excited about that and all she's going to do there. So if anybody needs anything, you know how to get me. Thanks.
Thank you, Lori. Is Richie Barsamian here from Assemblymember Alec Krasny's office?
No, I don't see him, Jane. He was on. He was
Okay, he was on our list. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well then we welcome is Venus Canterbury here from CCRB.
Good evening, Community Board 10. I'm Venus Canterbury. I'm the new Brooklyn Outreach Coordinator for the New York City Civilian Complaint Review Board. We are an independent agency from the NYPD that investigates, mediates, and prosecutes against police misconduct. We investigate police misconduct allegations under our jurisdiction FATO, excessive force, abuse of authority, discourtesy, and offensive language. I encourage any of the residents or anyone who has experienced police misconduct to file either online. You can call 311. You can file in person at our office, 100 Church Street, Lower Manhattan, 10th floor, or you can file at your local precinct. Also, we have our applications for the Youth Advisory Council. We accept applications from any young New Yorker from the ages of 10 to 18 who have a passion for criminal justice and are interested in improving police and community relations. The application closes at January 31st, so it's approaching, but I thought to spread the message to Community Board 10. Happy New Year to you all. I'm excited to work with you guys, and I will leave my contact info in the application and the chat. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you. And we have Jason Chen from DSNY.
Okay, Jason, you should be allowed to unmute now. Jason? Jason, you just have to click the space bar.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Jason Chen. I'm a community liaison with the Sanitation Department. Well, I'm going to just give a quick update for the sanitation service. I'm not sure about you heard about the sanitation. They published the new set out rule, the trust new set out rule for citywide. So the bill been passed in the past couple of months, and we're gonna be push it to citywide and put it in effect April 1st this year, 23rd. So it's gonna be affected on every single residence and the business. So currently, everybody's setting out garbage after 4 p.m. a night before the collection day. And that means that everybody have their garbage sitting out on the sidewalk more than 14 hours prior to the collection service will have across over the next following morning. So, and as a part of the mayor's administration's ongoing commitment to keep the New York City clean. And so we have to follow the mayor's office's guideline to push this new rule out to the citywide. And the new rule is gonna be for residentials, everybody who in the New York City. They are gonna setting out no later than 8 p.m. a night before the collection day. Everybody. So if your garbage is sitting out in the container with the lid, you can set the garbage out at 6 p.m. or after 6 p.m. the night before the collection. So if you put the garbage in a bag, in recycling, regular garbage, composting. So if you're sitting out in the bag, you have to put it out after 8 p.m. So for business, will be the similar rules. If the business putting garbage out in the bag, again, they're gonna put it out after 8 p.m. and the collection gonna be called before or by 6 p.m. the next day morning. So if the business closing out earlier than the putting out time, they can place their garbage out 1 hour before their closing time. For example, if they're closing at 6 or 5 p.m. in afternoon, they can put the garbage out 1 hour prior to their closing time of the day. And if the complex building that they want to opt in for early putting on the following morning, they can sign up on us, and we have application on our website. So those complex building will have a special window for pickup garbage because they're using a container, the Easy Pass container. So their pickup service will be happening between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. in the morning. So they have to put the garbage out within those window time in order to get a service before 6 p.m. or 7 a.m. in the morning. I'm sorry, 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. in the morning. So they can opt into that window too for the complex building, apartment building. If anybody have a question, they can always reaching out to us with our customer service unit or contact to our office with our customer service email is customerservice@bsnwater.gov. So anybody is welcome to write the email to us, and then we're going to be happy to answer your answer. In the meanwhile, we're working on our literatures. We're going to be conducting our outreach to the community board, the mailing to all the residents and business and the property owner in citywide in the coming up months. So before the service is happening, we hopefully everybody can get the mailer that we have this rules changing and get taking effect on April 1st. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have Richie Barsamian from Assembly Member Alec Krasny's office is here.
Good evening, everyone. My apologies. I experienced some earlier technical difficulties, so please forgive me. Hello from Assemblyman Alec Krasny of the 46th District. My name is Richie Barsamian, and I have the honor of serving as the Assemblyman's Director of Community Affairs. I'd like to inform everyone that our office is open at 310 93rd Street. Currently, it is open Monday and Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Telephone number is 347-560-6302. If those 2 days are not sufficient to meet the needs of any constituent with any difficulty, please reach out to us and we will do our best to have an appointment that will be beneficial to help the people in the community. So again, 310 93rd Street, Monday and Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at this time, 347-560-6302.
Thank you so much. And we have Odette Wilkins about 5G Link NYC.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Odette, you should be able to speak now.
Sorry, a little bit of technical difficulties. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. I am President and General Counsel of Wired Broadband, and I spoke at one of your committee meetings earlier this month. We are a nonprofit advocating safe technology for the public. I've also been a technology attorney for the past 20 years, having represented many multinational corporations in finance, entertainment, and technology. I am familiar with the benefits of technology as well as the risks. Our recommendation regarding the Link 5G cell towers in your district is disapproval and moratorium, as has been done by many community boards just in the last 5 weeks. Now, these are slated to be placed in front of private homes, in front of a school, and also in front of a medical facility, the SUNY Downstate Health Sciences University, with a unit that performs cardiac electrophysiology. Now, I just want to say that based on numerous studies, and in particular, a 2000 study that was commissioned by one of the major telecom carriers, wireless radiation interferes with cardiac functions. That a 5G cell tower would be in front of a medical facility performing cardiac therapy would be cause for concern. Also, in terms of children, exposure to wireless radiation is tied to developmental problems in later life, including attention deficit and hyperactivity, and it also increases the risk of childhood leukemia. Community Board 8 in Manhattan sent the city a clear message that they do not need these towers and they do not want them. Some of their reasons for disapproval was the long-term health impacts and the impacts on the environment. That there were also impacts on sidewalk clearances and rat infestation. There was also the desire to have telecommunications infrastructure underground for better service and to minimize visual impacts. Now, there's already been a petition in the district for CB8 in Manhattan that has garnered almost 2,500 signatures. Now, there's also concern about these 5G towers that would track children's locations. 5G is easily hackable. So who's going to have access to our children's locations? CityBridge's privacy policy states that CityBridge does not support a do not track function. That means that your and your children's locations will be tracked. So in terms of health hazards, there are plenty, but I just want to say that the telecom industry itself characterizes wireless radiation as a pollutant in their device protection plans. I'm sorry, just one. Hi, I'm so sorry. And so the telecom industry also characterizes wireless radiation as a pollutant in their device protection plans and disclaim any injuries arising from wireless radiation. And insurance companies such as Lloyd's of London and Swiss Re will not insure for personal injury from wireless radiation. Now, the FCC, which sets up the wireless emission limits for the US, lost a major case in federal court a couple of years ago, when the court called into question and remanded the FCC's outdated 1996 emission limits, because the FCC failed to consider the accounts of personal injury and 11,000 pages of scientific studies showing harm below those limits. Now, something that you need to know about these 5G cell towers is that 5G consumes a huge amount of energy. New York City made an incorrect assessment of no environmental impact of 5G infrastructure, and it was based on the incorrect assumption that 5G would have no significant change on the consumption of energy. Instead, it's been published that 5G infrastructure can be expected to increase the energy consumption by 61 times from 2020 to 2030. Also, cell towers have been known to catch on fire. They are actually electrical installations. Now, there were 4 major fires in California that were linked to telecommunications equipment, including one which was the worst fire in California history. Now, there was also a cell tower fire on the roof of a Brooklyn building just a couple of years ago. The potential devaluation of property can go down as far as 20%. The other thing is that there's an insufficient fall zone. Usually a cell tower needs to have a fall zone so that in the event that it collapses, it will not injure people. But these are 3 stories high and can be as close as 10 feet to any buildings and will be right on the streets. And that means that in the event that they collapse, they can crash into people's windows or injure people on the street. And next to a school, it can collapse and injure children. Now, there have been reports that the Office of Technology has indicated that the telecom industry has—
I'm sorry, Odette. I'm sorry. You're beyond our time limitations.
Okay, that's fine.
I appreciate all the
Thank you so much
information that you brought to us this evening and also to our recent community communications meeting. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Morris Denmark from the Brooklyn Public Library, Fort Hamilton branch.
Yes, good evening. My name, of course, is Morris Denmark. I'm the branch manager at the Fort Hamilton Library. And I just have a couple of quick announcements. I just like to remind everyone that the library still has free COVID test kits. As a matter of fact, every library in Brooklyn, you may go in and get free COVID test kits if you would like to get a test kit. I would like to announce that the Diker Library on 13th Avenue is having a New Year's celebration this Saturday. And that's all I have. I wish everybody a happy New Year and welcome back. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Josephine and Dorothy, that concludes the list that I have for our speakers for this evening. Can you please verify?
Yes, that's verified. Everyone that signed up has spoken. Thank you.
Okay. And now we will begin the public hearing. Josephine, just as a reminder, our first order of business, I don't see it on the agenda, was just to review the capital and expense priorities. May I go ahead with that?
Yes.
Okay. So to begin our public session, excuse me 1 minute. My turn to have a little technical issue, sorry. Okay. In the matter of the adoption and support of the capital and expense priorities for fiscal year 2024, we are at the point of the budget process where we have the opportunity to reaffirm the priorities that were previously submitted by the board. At this point, we cannot change our requests, but we do have the ability to reaffirm our priorities. Board members received the agency responses we received to our budget priorities by email. The responses to Community District 10's capital and expense budget priorities were emailed to you. The board typically adopts a motion to affirm our priorities in a statement to the Office of Management and Budget. Further, we also send our capital and expense priority list and the responses to all elected officials representing Community District 10 to assist in obtaining funds for these needed projects. Is there any discussion on this?
Seeing none.
Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to reaffirm Community Board 10's fiscal year 2024 capital and expense budget priorities.
So moved.
Steve Harrison, do we have a
Is that seconded?
Second.
Doris
Second.
Cruz second? And I'm gonna put up the poll, everyone. Let's hope it works. Let's see. Okay, everyone, it's on the
Yes.
screen. This is for board
Jos-
members only. And Joe Sokolow.
Josephine in favor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you so much. Okay, continuing on with our agenda for this evening. Next, we will continue with the SLA committee reports and recommendations. So if I can please ask Chris Ellison from Police and Public Safety to please unmute.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, the committee met on January 18th at approximately 7 p.m. in quorum. Items on the agenda. One was corporate change of SLA license number 1322324, Georgia Cuisine Incorporated. The premise is 8309 3rd Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11209. This is a transfer of shares from David Gogasvili to Cecilia Kubiabili, excuse me for pronunciations of names, and David Gogliani. As of January 1st, 2023, Cecilia Kubielli will have 55% of the shares, and David Gugliani will have 45% of the shares, and David Guglavishvili will have no shares in Georgia Cuisine Incorporated. The previous stipulation dated February 25th, 2019 stated the following. The premise will operate as a restaurant. There will only be pre-recorded background dining music in the interior of the premise. There should be no music in the rear yard. There shall be no smoking in the rear yard. The hours of operation shall not exceed 11:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday through Friday and 11 p.m. on Sunday. The applicant agrees that should it change its method of operation, it will give notice and meet with the community board / police public safety committee at least 30 days in advance of such change. The applicant agrees will meet with the committee and or board for a 3-month review of its method of operation should any matters require attention. After a discussion, the committee motioned and put it to a vote to approve the transfer. The committee met in quorum and vote was unanimous in favor. So, Madam Chair, can we go to the board?
Okay.
A
Yes.
discussion?
Yes,
Absolutely.
we can go for a discussion.
Yeah, what was it before? Just I'm
It
trying
was
to
a 50-50 share between David Gogliani and Cecilia Cublieri. So Cecilia Cublieri now has 55 shares. And
That's the only change that's significant here, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, so we have the motion, and I believe that the vote is coming up for us, Josephine.
Yes, it is. Board members only, please.
Thank you.
It's not working.
Josephine in favor.
Okay, thank you.
It's not working.
Oh, one person voted.
Mine's not
Yeah, it says
working either.
hosts and panelists cannot vote.
Okay, wait, I'm gonna end it. Oh, my goodness. I don't know what happened. Let me see. Relaunch. I'm gonna relaunch.
Me looking like this.
Okay, does it work now?
Yes.
Yay. Thank you all for your patience. Okay.
Okay, the next item on the agenda. Can we go on?
Thank you.
Okay, Chris.
Okay, the next item on the agenda was for a new SLA license for beer, wine, and cider for Narrows Coffee Incorporated, doing business as the Narrows, located at 1001 4th Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11209. This is a new on-premise beer, wine, and cider application. The applicant, Mr. Richard Rosen, was present, and present is his attorney, Terrence Flynn. The premise will operate as a restaurant with only background music. Hours of operation will be Monday through Thursday, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., Friday, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., Saturday, 6 a.m. to 12 a.m., and on Sunday, 6 a.m. to 10. The applicant anticipates they will be closing the outdoor seating on Saturday earlier so as not to disturb the neighbors. Outdoor dining will not have any speakers or background music. The premise does not have a certificate of occupancy, but they will be filing for a letter of no objection. The applicant was informed that he may need a public assembly since his occupancy may be greater than 75, and they are filing for one. There is no adverse history at this location. After a discussion period, the committee's decision is to deny the applicant unless the applicant agrees to the following stipulation. The premise will operate as a restaurant. There will be no sale or consumption of alcohol on the premise until the appropriate license is issued by the SLA. Applicant will not serve or allow BYOB until a license is obtained. The owner or manager will be on site during all hours of operation. The hours of operation will be Monday through Thursday, 6 a.m. to 10, Friday, 6 a.m. to 11, Saturday, 6 a.m. to 12, and Sunday, 6 a.m. to 10. The door shall remain closed with any amplified music. Background recorded and or music sound levels will remain below the level permitted by New York City Noise Code. There will be no outdoor music. The establishment shall not sponsor or use any promoter or have promoted events. There will be no smoking permitted. Once SLA license is obtained, the community board may call upon the applicant to address any concerns that may arise. The applicant agrees that should it change its method of operation, it will give notice and meet with the community board committee at least 45 days in advance of any such change. The applicant has agreed to the above stipulation. The committee met in quorum. Vote was in favor with one recusal. Any discussion or questions?
I see Anne has her hand up.
Go ahead, Ann.
Sorry if I'm Mr. Chris, but where is the outdoor dining?
It's on the side of the restaurant between.
What appears to be like a driveway
Yes,
where the guy is standing?
correct.
What is that used for now?
It's just an empty space from what I understand. Mr. Rosen is on the call also, if you need to.
It's a side yard. You just have to
Yeah,
do the space yard?
it's not a garage, it's a side yard. It's a private space on my landlord's property that just kind of is in between the next business and our business. So we kind of incorporated that into an outdoor area where we would have seating. And so behind that yard is a driveway of our personal driveway. That's the other picture where you see the white van. And we are going to put a fence, probably about a 10-foot fence that will go from the, it'll block the driveway. So it'll be the back of the store. So if you could look at the first picture and you see where the man is standing. So as that goes back, before it gets to the driveway, there will be a fence, a wooden, fence that goes completely across. And then that picture on the right, the driveway, that will just be the driveway.
A couple more questions.
Sure.
Is the whole first floor the commercial space, or are those 3 windows near the black car a residence?
So you're talking on the 3 windows near the black car on the right side, right side of the screen, right? So those windows are gone, except for so we put 2 new bathrooms back there, because what we did is we went into that used to be an apartment, so we kind of incorporated the front of it into the back. So now it's one larger space with 2 new bathrooms. So those windows back there are gone, except for the window to the right, closest to the door. That's a small office. So the other 2 windows are gone. There's no resident that lives on that ground floor. So the restaurant is really the whole first floor.
Last question, are there residential windows on the outdoor dining side?
No, that's part of, so that would be on the inside. There was another picture we sent that showed those windows. And I believe the board has it. And that is 2 French doors that open from our restaurant, but it's the whole, there are no residential on that ground floor.
But are there residential windows on the second floor?
Yes,
facing the eating area?
the landlord lives up on the second floor. The owner of the property.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Any more questions?
I see that Jill has her hand up as well.
Go ahead. Can't hear you.
Jill, you're on mute?
I don't think she is.
Oh, I can't hear you. We still can't hear you.
Jill, maybe you can raise the volume, go to F3 on the top row of your keyboard, if you need the volume raised. Top row of your keyboard, you have escape, F1, F2, F3 is the volume. Try that.
Maybe you can just type your question in the chat and we can just ask.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Jill, you're on mute now.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Now I hear you.
Good.
Okay. So just curious, the outdoor section, you said you were going to put up a fence. Is it enclosed? Will there be access to get out of the area in case there's an issue?
Yeah.
Or is it all going to be completely like enclosed?
Yeah, that fence will have a door. So you could go from the driveway to the yard, but it'll be a closed door, but it will have access. Yes.
I think I had seen Ruth's hand was up. I see that Steve's hand, oh, Ruth is there. Are you ready to speak, Ruth?
Thank
Unmute.
no, thank you. Thank you. My question was covered.
Okay, thank you so much, Ruth.
Sure,
Steve
thank you.
Harrison has his hand up.
Yeah, Mr. Rosen, as you enter the driveway from the back, okay, if you were driving a car into it,
Yes.
all right, your building is on the right, and there's what's on the left?
On the left is, okay, so that's a good question. On the left is another fence that separates another driveway of a residential house that's there. That would be
Okay.
the next house down the block. So
All right.
it's our driveway, a fence, another driveway, and then a house.
Okay, that driveway is a typical 10, 12-foot driveway, correct?
Yes, our driveway
Okay.
that you're looking at with the van holds two cars sideways. You know, two of those vans could fit next to each other. Then there's a fence, and then there's his driveway.
Does that house have windows
Yes.
on that side?
Yes.
It does.
Yes.
You will, right where you come in there, in your driveway, will you have tables or something?
In this driveway, what you're looking at? No, there'll be, so if you could see where that white van is, and then you
Yes.
see the building, our building.
Yes.
And then you see that pink wall behind
Yes.
our building, which is the other commercial building. So there would be a fence that goes, a wooden fence that goes from our building to the end of that, to touching that building.
Okay, have you discussed this with the neighbors there?
I don't, I'm sure the landlord has, because he's been on that block for 60 years. I have not. But
What
I
you-
do know
you
most
mean-
of the
What do you mean the landlord? Landlord of that building?
of my building. Yeah,
Of your
he's on that building for 60 years, and he seems to know everybody on that block, if not in the neighborhood. But at any rate, I've been at the property now for 2 years, and we have a very good reaction to from the neighbors that are dying for the place to open, and we just we delayed it. Once
Yeah.
that apartment came available, we took an extra time to get permits to go in and extend the place just to make it a little bigger and better.
I'm just asking specifically about the people in that building. Not generally the people on the block. I'm talking
Okay,
about that.
I understood. I have not personally spoke to them. Maybe I have, but I wouldn't know if they live there. So my answer is I don't know if I've spoke to them or not, but I've spoke to many people on the block, but I do not know if they were one of them.
Do you think that would be a good idea?
As far as the
As
beer
far
and
as how
wine,
they react to it, as to whether they have any objections, as to whether they feel that there's something you could do to ameliorate something that hasn't existed before, but could possibly be a noise problem for them now?
I don't anticipate, I don't think we're that close to them where we would have issues with the noise with them, to be quite honest with you.
Okay, if I can just stop you there, though.
Sure.
I'm asking you, not how you feel, I'm asking you, have you talked with them about how they feel, so that you could be proactive to eliminate any issues if in fact they do arise, but you eliminate them now?
I have not, again, I've spoke to many people on the block. I cannot say I spoke to them because I never rang their bell if, and made an effort to speak to them. Like I said, the reaction we've gotten from everybody was very favorable. The landlord probably knows the people. I'm sure the people have seen what's going on. They have never contacted me, and I haven't heard anything from the landlord other than positive reactions from everybody there. So I mean, he's seen it going on for 2 years, and he's right next to it. But again, I have to answer your question. I have not made an effort to ring his bell. I mean, I guess I could have done that, but have not. Not obviously not deliberately.
Could you still do that? And at this point?
I'm sure. I don't see why not.
Okay. All right. I have difficulty when you have that kind of a situation that you haven't even spoken with those people, because while you're saying you're sure people know that kind of stuff, you can't know that unless you can get in front of us and tell us that you've actually had that conversation.
Okay.
Okay. No further questions.
I see that Anne's hand is up again.
Yeah,
And we have Barbara Vellucci.
I have a quick curiosity question, Richard.
Yeah.
Just so that I don't have to drive back and forth waiting to see what happens. I was wondering if you're going to leave this wonderful retro look, or whether you're planning on doing renovations to the outside of the building.
Okay, so they did put siding on the building.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, recently, so it's brand new. It needed it. I don't think it changed from the outside. It doesn't change it. I think the point was that people were going to sit outside. We wanted it to be a nicer experience. What he had there was extremely old, probably 60 years old. So we did add that window that you're looking at, and the door, and those two French doors down further down. So we really opened it up quite a bit. Inside, it'll be brand new, but it'll be more retro than modern.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's still keeping its theme. It'll have a counter with chairs at the counter. Not quite the chairs that were there, but nice, obviously nicer ones. It's just upgraded, so that everything in there is brand new. When we took it over, it had a lot of grease and a lot of old, just old furniture and stuff. So we just, wanted to make it brand new, keeping within the same theme of what it was.
Thank you. And now we have Barbara, and then I see Jill and Jack are listed across my screen. Thank you.
Yeah, just in response to Steve speaking to Mr. Rosen about speaking to the tenant. And, I'm not an attorney, Steve, you are, but the landlord has a contract with the tenants. Mr. Rosen doesn't really have a responsibility to another tenant. I mean, I would hope that the landlord would have spoken to the tenants. And I don't see any obligation of Mr. Rosen having to speak to the tenants.
Thank you. If we can continue with Jill, please.
Yes, Mike, I just wanted to piggybacking on Steve as far as the tenants. There isn't an outdoor seating right now. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right. I think my only concern, and maybe some others, is that sometimes with people who live above, next door, and around, whenever there's outdoor seating, there tends to be a lot of noise and whatever. And I think that because you don't have outdoor seating now, the only concern is that the people around there should know that will be occurring, and do they have any worry about that? I think if I'm wrong, I think that's what Steve was trying to say.
Well, can I just add one thing?
Yes, of course.
That's not the only house. It is the closest one, but it's not the only house on the block. And the nightclub next to us goes on till 3, 4 in the morning and has a lot of people outside throughout the years. If you go on any Friday night, Saturday night, you'll see that. So this has been going on. That nightclub has been around for about 35 years.
Oh,
And
Encore?
Encore. Yeah, it used to be Pazzo's. It was an incredibly popular spot. I don't know if it ever had trouble or not, but I had been there when there, and I'm still see double parked cars and people all over the sidewalks up until 4 in the morning. So I didn't think a little restaurant would be an issue. And then also you have around the city, just about on every way you look, you have people. The city decided to put these outdoor seats everywhere you can imagine, and there's tenants above every one of these houses. And so maybe, I would never think of ringing a bell of a house between our driveways, because the city decided that nobody could sleep. They have these on every block, and there's residents on top of these restaurants, many floors up on some of them. In fact, the restaurant across the street from me has outdoor seating that may seat 150 people, and they have tenants way above them. So I guess it never occurred to me because of the climate New York created, and I just have one tenant, one house. Not saying that that he doesn't count, but I think you understand what I'm saying. It never really thought that was my responsibility, since the city decided it seems to be fine to keep everybody up at night, which is not obviously my goal. I'm more of a restaurant than a night spot.
Thank you. Jack is next.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. Just a more general comment. I don't think. Were you planning on playing music outdoors at all? Did I miss something on the presentation? Or
There's no music outside.
Okay, so there's no music outside. The noise would be what, coffee shop level, restaurant level noise of a regular day restaurant. So I don't really see any problems, to be honest. And it's pretty cool that you're doing something that's like an outdoor coffee restaurant deal in that area. So props to you for that. So not really a question, just a general discussion point there.
Thank you.
I see Terry has her hand up.
Unmute.
Terry, you're on mute.
I just wanted to say it's really nice to see a business coming back to that location. I know people were really upset when the coffee shop closed, and we sort of got a glimpse of the menu, and it looks like you're still doing, coffee shop kinds of food, at least for breakfast. And I don't know, I wish you all the best. It sounds like you've thought it out pretty well. So best of luck to you.
Yeah, appreciate it. We definitely will be open early and keep that breakfast tradition going there, and just trying to expand on it and make it even a little more special. By the way, I was a customer there since I was 6 years old, so I'm 58. That's why I decided to try to reopen it.
Hey, the Encore people can come have their drunk breakfast,
Yeah.
The food business is really, really hard.
Yes.
People don't really understand how small the margins are and how hard it is to stay profitable. So I really wish you all the best.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Chris, I don't see any other hands up.
Neither do I.
Any other? Okay, so we have our committee's recommendation.
Yes, it was in favor, and there was one recusal.
Okay. So there we go with our poll.
Board members only, please. Is it working?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, good.
Josephine, it says Narrows Coffee Inc. and then it says untitled question, choice 1, choice 2.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can just click any of them and I think it'll go through. Any of those lower options.
Thank you.
In favor, Josephine.
Okay, got you, Joe. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if mine submitted, but I was in favor.
Yes, well, Chris Ellison.
Mine
Okay.
did not work.
All right, Carmelo, how are you?
I was in favor.
Okay.
In favor.
Okay, so I'm going to share the results as we have them. So motion carries. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Richard, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Josephine, I'm sorry, mine didn't work.
Okay, you're recused.
I'm recusing myself.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The next item was a new transfer SLA liquor license number 1315750 for Tequila Restaurant Corporation. The premise is 8321 Fifth Avenue. This is a transfer new on-premise SLA liquor license. The current SLA license is going to expire on March 31st, 2023. The applicant, Zenon Velez, was present and was represented by his attorney, Sandra Hong. The applicant is applying for a temporary permit as well as a new SLA license. This is a new owner with the same method of operation that is currently at this premise. The establishment will have a maximum occupancy of approximately 35, which includes staff. The premise will operate as a restaurant with only background music. Hours of operation will be Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. There is no outdoor dining. The premise does not have a certificate of occupancy, but they have filed for a letter of no objection. No adverse history at this location. After a discussion period, the committee's decision is to deny the applicant unless the applicant agrees to the following stipulations. The premise will operate as a restaurant. There will be no sale or consumption of alcohol on the premise until the appropriate license is issued by the SLA. Applicant will not serve or allow BYOB until license is obtained. The owner or manager will be on site during all hours of operation. The hours of operation will be Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., Thursday, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and on Sunday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. The door shall remain closed with no amplified music background. Recorded and or sound levels will remain below the level permitted by New York City Noise Code. There will be no outdoor music. The establishment shall not sponsor or use any promoter or have promoted events. There will be no smoking permitted. There will be at least 20% visibility view into the establishment at eye level. The applicant agrees that should it change its method of operation, it will give notice and meet with the community board committee at least 45 days in advance of any such change. Once SLA license is obtained, the community board may call upon the applicant to address any concerns that may arise. The applicant has agreed to the above stipulation. The committee met in quorum. Vote was in favor with one recusal. Motion adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any discussion on this point?
I don't see any, Jane.
Okay.
So
So
we're
we're
ready to
ready
close
to
the,
vote.
okay, everyone, the poll is on your screen. Just a reminder, board members only.
Thank you.
Favor, Josephine.
In favor, thank you, Joe.
Josephine, I don't have my poll up, but I'm in favor.
In favor, okay, great. Thank you, Sandy. Okay, motion carries. All in favor with two recusals. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you very much to Chris.
You're welcome.
Next, we have our committee report from the Communications Committee for a review of another proposal. Henry Stewart, I believe, is here this evening.
Yes.
Hi.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was a long meeting, so I will try to be as efficient as I can. But the Communications Committee met in quorum 2 weeks ago. The agenda was a discussion of the Office of Technology and Innovations plan to install 4 Link NYC sites in residential areas of our community district. They're at 7701 Shore Road, 8301 Shore Road, 699 92nd Street, and 166 Battery Avenue. There are presently no Link NYC sites in the district. They're in all 5 boroughs, but mostly Manhattan. OTI has the authority to let companies use the city's rights of way, in this case, streets and sidewalks, to deploy telecommunications technology, and in return, those companies pay the city revenue. This is what they call the franchise. The program began in 2014, 2015 as a way to replace payphones. The original Link kiosk provided free Wi-Fi, free nationwide calling, free device charging, a dedicated 911 button, and a tablet to access city services, 311, maps, nearby social services. They also had advertising screens on the sides, which provided the revenue source. It was not taxpayer funded. It makes money. So far, $100 million with approximately 2,000 kiosks. They had some problems with City Bridge, which is the franchisee, and their agreement. So the contract was amended most significantly to require 90% of new kiosks to be outside of the central business district of Manhattan. They also pivoted on the revenue source. So advertising screens continue to be a part of the program in some locations, but another source was sought tied to expanding telecommunication service to the city. The Link NYC kiosk was redesigned to accommodate mobile technology infrastructure, like antennas and radios. At the top of the redesigned kiosk tower is space for equipment that cell phone providers use to enhance their networks. The Public Design Commission approved the redesign in late 2021, after which OTI began fabricating the Link 5G structures. So now they're on a 5-borough rollout in 20 community districts. Some of these new towers will be on commercial corridors, as in the original program. Others are planned for historic districts, parks, and residential areas. 3 of the 4 proposed in our community district are in zoned residential areas. And the other one, I think it's zoned parkland, but it's still a residential area. Kiosks in residential areas do not have advertising screens. So none of the towers proposed in this community district would have advertising screens, but they would have the tablets, charging stations, Wi-Fi. They are 32-foot poles with the tablets offering access to city services and other things. They have room at the top for a multi-tenant structure. So several different providers can utilize it. So, so AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile could all put equipment in there that decreases the amount of cell towers on rooftops and pole tops. The sites in CD10 were chosen for mobile communications companies' benefit. They said that the new custom-built structures would plug in coverage and capacity needs on the mobile carrier networks and build out high-speed networks, particularly in the outer boroughs, where there's a dearth of available siting opportunities. They said they were necessary for building out the future of mobile wireless communication. There's a need and demand in the city, not just for faster speeds, but also service capacity. Every Link 5G site is driven by a specific request from a mobile carrier because of identified needs for service. They said they understand objections to new large infrastructure placed in neighborhoods, but the reality of changes in cellular service and the increasing demands all citizens place on the mobile phone services means that over the next few years, there will be a need for new infrastructure, additional places to broadcast their signals to support the ever-increasing demand of their customers. As a result, this type of infrastructure is going to parade through the city in all neighborhoods. If it doesn't, for whatever reason, that neighborhood will have a much lower level of service, potential holes in the network, creating problems for residents, visitors, and emergency services. It's difficult for carriers to provide service to parts of Bay Ridge because of the nature of the neighborhood. It's highly residential, it's largely low scale. From a siting perspective, it's a difficult place. Even from a Link 5G perspective, there are limited places to put towers according to the siting rules because of overhead wires or thick foliage. They can't be placed on corners, at bus stops, in front of fire hydrants or curb cuts. They must be placed on sidewalks at least 8 feet wide. They can't interfere with a driver's line of sight or be too close to a sidewalk cafe or newsstand. There are more than 100 limitations. Moving forward, more infrastructure will probably need to be placed on existing light poles and utility poles. The sites chosen were not done so randomly or arbitrarily. They are carefully vetted, though they may still prove unstable. If somebody installs a curb cut before they get out there, then they can't put them there, or if there's something they didn't know was underground that prevents the installation. But they are meant to solve a problem that exists today, but will also be worse tomorrow without new infrastructure. So the first site is 8301 Shore Road in front of the high school, across from the park, just off the corner of Shore Road Lane. where the sidewalk is wide, hopefully creating minimum impact on residents while increasing cell phone coverage on Shore Road. The next is 699 92nd Street in front of the hospital, just off the corner of 7th Avenue, where the sidewalk is also wide. The next is in front of a private home at 166 Battery Avenue with the kiosk actually on 92nd Street, just off the corner with Battery, approximately 600 to 1,000 feet away from the previous location. The house is set back from the street with a wide sidewalk, so the site is meant to cause less imposition on residents than other sites might. And the last is at 7701 Shore Road on the east side of the street, just south of the corner of 77th Street in front of another private home. They said finding locations on Shore Road are difficult because of grassy areas on sidewalks, driveways, and dense tree cover, but the site at 7701 is one of the few they found that was suitable. These sites are residential, but they're also heavily trafficked. Shore Road, 92nd Street, there's a higher demand for services on them than there might be in other residential areas. Jane Marie said that when these ideas were first presented to the board about 5 or 6 years ago, the city was talking about parks, not residential areas, so that this shift required some serious consideration from the board. She also asked about the dimensions of the kiosks. They said the Link 5G structures for residential areas are 32 feet tall. They are 18 inches in diameter at the base, 19 inches in depth with the tablet interface, and at the top, they go up to about 28 or 34 inches in diameter to accommodate that telecommunications infrastructure, which begins about 17 feet up the pole. Street poles like light poles, traffic poles, utility poles are 32 feet tall. And that height is important for these because it allows the signal to travel farther with fewer interruptions. Jane Marie also asked why existing poles aren't being used at this time instead of new Link 5G towers. And they said that OTI has been doing that work in cooperation with DOT for the last 15 years, supplementing carriers' 4G coverage throughout the entire city in every district, but that it's not an either or proposition. And they also said 5G infrastructure is different from 4G and that the street poles were not built for this purpose and they can't handle the same capacity as a Link 5G tower. They're specially designed to handle 4 times the number of radios, which is more efficient. He said that in a neighborhood like Bay Ridge, you will see both of these solutions deployed in the next few years. Jane Marie also expressed concern about safety and nuisance concerns. Issa Masood expressed concern about radiation and radio frequency emissions from the towers, that the services the kiosks provide might be welcome, but the communications infrastructure was not. And they said that there are already these types of installments in residential areas needed to provide cell phone service on pole tops, on rooftops, and private property. The project reduces the number of towers that need to be deployed by allowing multiple tenants to use the same one. The city does not regulate radio frequency emissions, but the federal government does. And the contract with the franchisee requires its equipment to comply with FCC regulations, which it does as verified by independent testing, they said. 4G and 5G are not novel technologies. They've been employed in the city and elsewhere for years. Josephine said that this situation is different because it's a tower in front of a residence, facing their windows. She added that the FCC requirements are antiquated. They were put in place around 1996. She said this is new and we don't have up-to-date studies. Once she reminded the committee, X-rays were considered safe. Tracy Britton asked if there have been environmental studies on the effects on plants and wildlife. They said they're not aware of any scientific studies looking at the different frequencies used by 4G compared with 5G and whether they have different impacts, that these networks have been deployed for 20 or 30 years. I asked how far the service from these towers extends. They said about 500 feet, maybe a little longer. I asked if the service only extends 500 feet, will there one day be a 5G tower on every block? They said there will be more in addition to pole top installations, but not on every street. They must be at least 200 feet apart. You can only put one per block. You can only put on one side of the block. They said the original Link NYC kiosks were permitted to be much closer together, but these are not. I also asked whether towers could continue to be placed on the tops of tall buildings, as there are many in Bay Ridge. They said Shore Road, for example, is park on one side and residences on the other, so it makes it difficult to find the tall buildings needed to expand mobile service. I said there were 10 to 15 blocks of Shore Road that feature private residences, but the rest has apartment buildings that are 6 or more stories tall. And they said that the cell service in those areas is probably better. It's the parts of Shore Road they chose are generally lower lying areas. A member of the public who lives close to the tower proposed for 77th Street, said he was dissatisfied with the reasoning for it. He opposed all the towers, but at least the other 3 were not directly in front of homes. The tower on 77th Street would be very close to a private residence without a setback. He also couldn't believe that there was a restriction against placing a tower near a sidewalk cafe, but not a private home. They said they understood the objection, but that part of Shore Road is challenging to find a location because it was all essentially residential homes similar to the ones that they would build adjacent to. He said they desire to avoid building in front of homes wherever possible, but in this particular area, there were no siting locations that wouldn't be in front of somebody's house. And they also clarified that with sidewalk cafes, it limits clearance on the sidewalk, and that's why they impact the 5G tower placements. I pointed out that there's a religious building now being used as a school 2 blocks away from the proposed site on 77th Street on Bay Ridge Parkway, and asked whether that site had been examined. They said they'd have to check, but they thought Bay Ridge Parkway might have been a little too far north for the coverage needed in the lower lying area of Shore Road. A member of the public who also lives nearby the 77th Street location said this block has special challenges. They have Con Edison problems. There was a fire, there was an explosion, the gas and the electric lines are close together, there's a fire hydrant, there's a sewage problem, and there's people loiter and drink and do drugs, and she was worried that this tower would attract more people. She asked why the tower couldn't be placed in the park. They said some towers are being sited inside parks, so that was a possibility. And Odette Wilkins, who spoke during the public session, was also there, and she made many of the same points that she made here this evening. I won't go through them all again. A member of the public asked about damaged kiosks going unrepaired and about promised revenue falling short. They said the part of the contract is they must maintain the kiosks physically. They have to clean them twice a week. There's open data that shows which kiosks need repair in real time. And if that system fails, there's a 311 category for reporting malfunctioning kiosks. And the revenue issue was part of what drove the renegotiated contract and the restructured franchise. So those issues have been addressed. The woman on the call from OTI, she said she's been there 6 years, during which time they've been deploying these kiosks. She said she receives all the complaints about Link NYC. Anecdotally, she receives very few relative to the number of kiosks there are in the city, but when she does, they work with agency partners to remedy them immediately, whether that's vagrancy, scaffolding, debris, illegal activity. She said 311 was the best way to get attention to these problems, and that ongoing issues can get NYPD attention. Josephine said the most difficult problems to address that come in through 311 are typically quality of life issues, particularly noise issues. A member of the public asked about their effects on property values and also about the security of the data that the kiosks are using and what kind of cameras they use. The woman from OTI said property values were not her wheelhouse, but that these kiosks provide necessary services and OTI sees them as a boon to any community.
Sure.
Of course. They said OTI has an extremely strong privacy policy. The franchisee is not allowed by contract to collect any information except for an email address provided by users when they're agreeing to the terms of use, and those are purged after a year. They're not connected to you or to your device. They don't retain any device identifiers, and if you just walk by, they're not taking information from your phone. He said cameras are only used on the structures which had advertising screens, which are not the ones they've proposed for Bay Ridge. And those cameras are kept off unless needed, such as if there were a vandalism spree during which they may be turned on for a brief time. There's a camera on the tablet for the deaf and hard of hearing to make phone calls in sign language. So Another member of the public commented that free Wi-Fi was unnecessary as everybody on 77th Street pays for fiber optic cable. Somebody talked about, when cell phone towers were first being placed, there were restrictions about their proximity to schools, and now they're being built across the street from schools. She said, we don't know what the health effects might be 5 or 10 years from now. And Carmen Feliciano was there. She said that she became disabled 15 years ago, volunteering at Ground Zero. She said having these towers near schools, healthcare facilities, it was too dangerous given the unknowns about their health effects, and that's the number one issue because those things cannot be reversed. Judith Collins said further study was needed and the board shouldn't be pressured to make a decision this quickly. The district office also received at least 15 emails from local residents concerned about loitering and the health implications of placing these technologies in residential areas. So I proposed a motion that CB10 denies support to the placement of these towers without having more and better information about the potential health and safety effects. It was seconded by Tracy Britton and the motion passed unanimously. And Josephine proposed a future joint meeting of the Communications, Health and Welfare and Environmental Committees to delve deeper into these issues. And so with no other questions or comments, the meeting was adjourned.
Thank you so much, Henry, for that very thorough report. We do have a few questions from our members. I see Mike Festa's hand up, Terry Brennan, and then Barbara Vellucci and Jack Zhang. So we'll start with Michael.
Actually, Henry answered my question in his last few seconds, so I'm okay.
Thank you, Mike. And I remember those coming up, the Link NYC issues coming up years ago when we were sitting on your committee.
Yeah, I remember too, probably 6 or 7 years ago.
Yes, and you see how tall, how it's changed now.
Yeah.
So thank you, Mike. Terry Brennan had a question, please.
Oh, Terry, you're
Terry,
on.
I agree with the conclusion of the committee. I mean, if it extends service 500 feet, I mean, that's not a tremendous benefit given all the unknowns about the negative impacts. So this is really concerning, and I appreciate all the work that you guys have done on this.
Thank you, Terry. Barbara?
Yeah, just a clarification on that these towers would be on, like I'm speaking specifically for Fort Hamilton High School, that would be on the school side of 8301, because I think I saw that when we had the referral about this, it had originally said 8302, which is a fake address, but it would be on the park side. So what side are we talking about?
No, it's on the school side. It's
Okay.
that
On the
little
school side.
side street, Shore Road Lane, that would be like 85th Street. It's kind of right off of the corner of that and Shore
Yeah,
Road in
it's
front of the
just
school.
amazing. The largest school in the city of New York with 4,700 children on 3 overlapping sessions with probably 700 staff members. Why don't we just put a radiation belt right into the main lobby? I mean, let's just do it now. Ridiculous. Thank you for your motion.
Thank you, Barbara. Jack, thank you.
Hi, thanks for the very, very thorough report, Henry. I'm not too worried about health and safety in this case, just because like 5G barely penetrates concrete walls and you probably get more radiation from the sun than you can get from a 5G tower. So I'm not really worried about that. But the size of these towers is kind of absolutely enormous. I did not realize how tall these were until I saw some of the actual pictures. They're 3-story tall in areas where the buildings are 2 stories tall in some of the pictures. This is kind of crazy. I recognize that, the MTA built the mobile phone expansion, but you barely notice them. Like, so they're able to do that somehow without any kind of obnoxious extra infrastructure. But I do have a question for you, Josephine. I'm not sure if you know the answer to this, but I think in one of the pages, they mentioned they built a tower in Chinatown, that at least there's one tower there. Do you know if they require community support or any kind of support to build that tower? Like, what can we actually do to push back against this at all?
Yeah, so what I could tell you, Jack, is that a number of it is making its way through the community boards who are having hearings, and every board that has had a hearing has not been in support. And there are many locations in the city in downtown Manhattan, and I don't know if Chinatown was one of them, who are asking for them to be removed, but I can look into that specific for you and get back to you.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. Jane?
Thank you. Steve, I thought I had seen your hand up. Did you have a question?
Pretty much the same as anybody else. I'm fine.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much. So I don't see any other questions at this time.
Okay, so I'm gonna put up the question because.
Thank you.
So this is going to be, if you're in favor, then we are against the
Correct.
implementation, just to
Yeah.
clarify. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry. So if we're against, we should vote in favor? Is that
Yes.
what you said? Okay, thank
You'd
you.
be in favor of the committee's recommendation, which the committee's recommendation was to deny. Henry, did you want to reread that committee recommendation?
Excuse me, I voted wrong.
I voted wrong too.
Okay.
I also voted wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna relaunch this.
Right, and
Yeah, I can reread the motion. It was that
Thank
CB10 denies support to the placement of these towers without having more and better information about the potential health and safety effects.
Thank you. Whoa. Good.
Okay, very good. And Joe?
In favor.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Okay, so I am going to launch the results. It's unanimous.
Thank
And I
you.
will add Joe. Thank you. Okay, Jane, back to you.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you to Chris and to Henry for the public hearing sessions of our meeting this evening. And now we will go on with the chair's report. So I want to begin by thanking you all for your continued service as we begin this new year 2023. And this weekend also began the Lunar New Year celebration as we welcome the Year of the Rabbit. The rabbit is a symbol for hope and peace. And with all New Year greetings, we wish you a year filled with good health, prosperity, and happiness. It is our intention for good health that led us to change the format of tonight's January General Board meeting to virtual over Zoom. Recent email notification from the New York State Department of Health reported that flu is widespread across New York State and COVID cases in our area are hovering at 14%. The health and well-being of our members and community are of the utmost importance, and we appreciate this opportunity to gather virtually. As was previously mentioned, Brooklyn Community Board application season has begun and will remain open until February 14th, 2023. We take pride in our work and invite you to encourage your friends and neighbors to volunteer and apply to the Community Board so we can continue having the vibrant voices of Bay Ridge, Piker Heights, and Fort Hamilton be heard. If residents watching this evening want input on bus route redesign, traffic, bike lanes, housing developments, liquor licenses at restaurants and bars, trash concerns, or other matters that affect our community, then you need to come to a board meeting more often. Earlier this evening, the capital and expense priorities for fiscal year 2024 were reaffirmed. It is worth noting that the top priority was that capital funds must be added for remedial action to address the recurring sewer backups along 10th Avenue from 77th to 86th Street. This is now a public health emergency, and it was residents speaking up at our community board meeting that brought this important issue to the attention of our elected officials and city agencies. This was an example of a community board's grassroots level of government and the positive impact citizens can make. Another issue that has become a recent concern is the number of new smoke shops in our area. The New York State Office of Cannabis Management will be holding virtual information sessions on cannabis dispensaries. Information was emailed to board members, and the sessions are scheduled for Monday, January 30th at 12:30 p.m., Wednesday, February 1st at 7 p.m., and Thursday, February 2nd at 10 a.m. Additionally, Community Board 10 Police and Public Safety Committee is planning an informational presentation by the New York State Office of Cannabis Management in March 2023. Please look for that date in our upcoming newsletter. There are also many things to consider with the Brooklyn Bus Network redesign. We will hear more about that in this evening's Traffic and Transportation Committee report. We understand that many have questions and concerns, and we encourage members of the community to attend the virtual MTA workshop for CB10 on February 9th at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. And it is with great sadness, as Justin had mentioned earlier, that we mourn the loss of another traffic fatality. We recently learned of neighbor Norm Fruchter, who was killed by a driver while crossing 68th Street by Owl's Head Park, heading toward his home. He succumbed to his injuries earlier this month. We send our deepest condolences to his family and recommit our efforts as a community board to fight for safer streets. If these issues are important to you, we hope that you will consider applying to be a board member and have an impact on our community's future. Thank you. Respectfully submitted, J. Marie Kapitsinakis. Thank you. And now we turn to our district manager's report. Please welcome Josephine Beckman.
Thank you, Jane. Good evening, board members, and Happy New Year and Happy Lunar New Year to those who are celebrating. I want to begin my report with a quick update regarding Diker Lights. The district office is planning to attend an interagency meeting to review this year's organic event. Patrol Borough Brooklyn South, the 68th Precinct, traffic control agents, the mayor's CECM unit, and SAPO provided resource support, which we are thankful, and neighbors have provided feedback that we are going to review very shortly. This was a very busy month for the district office, preparing for important January and February meetings. I want to share two important upcoming agency meetings with proposals that will impact Community District 10. As Jane mentioned, the MTA Brooklyn Bus Network redesign plan, which will be spoken about later. Please, I did email this out. I'm going to provide an updater. The initiative is described by the MTA as one that aims to comprehensively modernize the New York City's bus network. It's important that we participate. The board's Traffic and Transportation Committee will be attending the next hearing on February 9th. That's going to be hosted by the MTA, and invite all board members to attend to participate. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers New York District is planning 2 virtual and 2 in-person meetings for the New York, New Jersey Harbor and Tributaries Coastal Storm Risk Management Feasibility Study. The Army Corps of Engineers is seeking community input. I attended a briefing last week, and we are working on setting up a joint environmental committee next month with our neighboring Community Board 11. Last week, I attended and testified at the New York City Council's Oversight Committee meeting on the proliferation of unlicensed smoke shops citywide. I shared Community Board 10's adoption of its resolution calling upon New York State for clear enforcement rules, and shared our ongoing concerns about the proliferation of unlicensed smoke shops within Community District 10. The hearing was attended by parent advocates as well as business owners who are frustrated by a limited number of licenses. The administration was represented by cannabis task force members that are working on enforcement efforts, the New York City Sheriff, the NYPD, and DCWP, who are working to crack down on the illegal cannabis market. The NYPD has visited every reported smoke shop in the city. The City Council's committee promises to also tackle the marketing aspect that's being geared toward teenagers and young people throughout the city. The NYPD reported that nearly a third of robberies of smoke shops were committed by teenagers between the ages of 15 and 19. State Senator Kruger, one of the primary authors of the Marijuana Regulation Tobacco Act, said that she is in negotiations with the governor's office to craft a new state law to address enforcement challenges. As Jane mentioned, we are going to be planning a meeting with OCM, the Office of Cannabis Management, very shortly. I have just a few agency announcements. The New York City Department of Homeless Services will be conducting its annual homeless outreach population estimate, the Hope Count. That's going to be taking place tomorrow from 10 p.m. until 4 a.m. You can volunteer to survey homeless individuals if you're 16 years or older and willing to go out between the hours of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. Please reach out to 311 if you would like to register for this event, or if you see a homeless person in need. Homeless outreach staff will arrive within 2 hours of a call to reach out to those in need. It was mentioned earlier about Sunset Ridge, the senior affordable housing units. That information is posted on our website. It's been sent out in our newsletter, and we will share it again with board members. And our next Community Board 10 meeting will be on Monday, February 27th, respectfully submitted. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Josephine. And next we will go to our treasurer's report. Please welcome Shirley Chin.
Thank you, Jane. Community Board 10 Treasurer's Report as of December 31st, 2022. Total personal services is $108,710.80. Total other than personal services is $3,548.57, leaving an encumbered budget balance of $155,331.63. Happy New Year to everyone, and Happy Lunar New Year to those who are celebrating. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. And next we will move on to our committee reports. Please welcome Diane Gennardis for our Parks Committee this evening.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Happy Lunar New Year. It's good to see you all this evening. The members of the Parks Committee met via Zoom on January 17th, beginning at 7:02 p.m. We met in quorum for 2 informational presentations. The District Parks Manager, Christopher Clay, was also in attendance. The first presentation was from the Partnership for Parks Organization, an arm of the New York City Parks Department. Presenters were Curtis Sherrod and Carly Chamblay, who shared the vision and mission of the organization. We were told to consider the parks in our community as our canvas, as we, the community members, are the paint. Partnership for Parks arranges for various activities that take place in our neighborhood, and it's for all ages. If you have an idea for an activity to enhance the lives of those who frequent the parks, this organization can help and facilitate the event. Some of the recent activities include the Mulch Fest that turned our Christmas trees into mulch, as well as leaf gathering events. Another program offered is the It's My Park Day, which our CB10 Parks Committee has participated in prior years prior to the COVID pandemic. We were urged to feel free to contact these representatives if we have any special events we would like to host in the parks. The second presentation was made by Jimmy Johnson from Narrow Botanic Gardens. Mr. Johnson gave a detailed talk about the need to address the green space area between the Belt Parkway and the Narrows Botanic Gardens with native plantings and grasses that will provide the necessary food and shelter to countless birds and insects. By planting environmentally acceptable plants and grass, we can change the soil structure and mitigate flooding by increasing the drainage with more porous soil. Mr. Johnson further explained that native plants are those that have been here for the last 15,000 years. Non-native plants are those we have introduced from all over the world. Invasive plants are those that take over an environment. Along Shore Road, 80% of the plants are non-native and invasive. One such invasive plant is the mugwort, which is a leading cause of hay fever and is useless to our environment. Native insects do not eat mugwort. We need to remove this useless mugwort and replace it with native plants such as milkweed, meadow flowers, and grasses. These native plantings will bring back pollinators and native birds back to our neighborhood. Narrows Botanic Gardens purchases their native plants from the Staten Island Native Plant Center. They also get help from schools such as Fort Hamilton High School. They do have a small nursery, but it is not large enough to supply all the plants they would need. The participatory budget process approved a proposal to begin this work, but then the pandemic hit and nothing has been done. Total estimated costs for these plantings and grass purchase and 3 years of intensive maintenance on these plants would total between $40,000 to $50,000. We will follow up with Councilman Brannon to inquire about the status of the budget proposal now that we have returned to a semi-natural state. There being no other business, a motion to adjourn was made by Leo Dan Castillo and seconded by Dan Heddix. The motion passed and the meeting was adjourned at 7:39 p.m. Respectfully submitted. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diane. And next we will move on to our Traffic and Transportation Committee meeting report. And I believe Doris Cruz is giving that report this evening.
Good evening, everyone. Excuse me. The committee met to discuss the MTA design, the MTA bus network redesign on January 19th. The MTA had done an online presentation about the changes. I would like to give thanks to board member Dan Heddix, who designed a comprehensive map of the proposed changes. It was an incredible help. You were able to see all the changes together, or you could look at it line by line, and it really made an exhausting project bearable. The meeting was 2 hours, and as I today reviewed the changes, this report could easily be two hours. To keep it to a reasonable length, I will give a breakdown of the major changes on each line and briefly discuss the most egregious changes. And then I really encourage everyone to attend the February 9th meeting to get a better understanding. The MTA does not report ridership per stop on bus lines. This makes it difficult to understand some of their proposals. So now I'm just going to give a brief breakdown by bus route. The B1, 3 stops are eliminated on the B1. Those stops are on 86th Street between Dahlgren Place and 14th Avenue. The B9, the B9, 9 stops are removed. There was a lengthy discussion about problems at the terminus of the line at Colonial Road and 77th and 78th Street. This is the end of the line, and frequently disorderly passengers are removed from the bus and cause problems in the area. A suggestion was made that the line be extended to Shore Road, at least to the Shore Road Park, and possibly lengthening the route along Shore Road. They plan to remove the stop at 78th Street and 4th Avenue, which is access to the subway station, so that's questionable. The B8, 5 stops are to be removed. There is a bus stop inside the VA hospital gate. Stops outside the gate are to be removed. This seems logical, but concerns were raised that the stops outside the gate are used by people accessing Dyker Park. The stop at 14th Avenue and Cropsey Avenue is proposed to be removed. This too provides access to the park and is concerned for limiting access to the park. On the B9, 4 stops are removed. The stop at Narrows and 69th Street is proposed to be removed. This is the location of the new Bay Ridge Center. This could cause difficulties for seniors going to the new center. The stops at 65th Street and 4th Avenue are also proposed to be removed in both directions. This might cause more people to cross 4th Avenue at 4th Avenue at 65th Street, a very dangerous intersection. And removal of those bus stops could be a difficulty for Bay Ridge Towers residents. On the B16, 18 stops are removed. At least 5 of those are on Shore Road, which is a true transit desert. Most concerning is the removal of the southbound stop at 91st Street and Shore Road, Shore Hill. The MTA proposed removing the stops at 4th Avenue and 100th Street. This is not a busy stop, but it is a stop used as a layover by bus drivers. They have easy access to food, and especially overnight when their actual layover on the shore is extremely deserted. On the B37, 9 stops are removed. The MTA proposes removing the stop at 92nd Street and 3rd Avenue. This is in front of Food Town. This is a busy bus stop with a bus shelter, and Josephine has pictures of people sitting there waiting for the bus. It was suggested that no stops be removed from commercial corridors. We should not eliminate mass transit access to commercial corridors. The B63, 7 stops are removed. One stop to be moved, not removed, is at 99th Street and 3rd Avenue. And I don't know if you remember, but this intersection has been lengthy discussions at our board. The DOT installed a light there that creates a very weird traffic stoplight setup. And a traffic study should be done there before any changes to the area are considered. The B64, 20 stops are removed. 10 of those stops are between 4th Avenue and Shore Road. The MTA reroutes the B64 from 69th Street at 4th Avenue. And instead of going to Shore Road, it will travel north on 4th Avenue, going to NYU. We do not know why this change was proposed. With this change, then there now will be very limited service on 69th Street from 4th Avenue to the shore. This limits mass transit use to Parks, to the pier, to Xaverian High School, and to the New Bay Ridge Center. Concerns were raised about the increased traffic that will be at 3rd Avenue and 4th Avenues near 68th and on 69th Street. These are difficult intersections. On the B70, 10 stops are to be removed. This should be reviewed because this is a very, very busy bus line. Maybe not in the number of buses, but in the number of people who use the bus. And on the express bus, 8 stops are to be removed in Brooklyn. They're eliminating the Wakeman Place bus stop and the 88th Street bus stop. Both of these are very problematic. There are many changes to Manhattan service. There appears to be an elimination of Midtown service and very serious reductions in service. The MTA does not seem to realize how this bus is used. As a former rider, I can say it takes less time to get from 4th Avenue and Shore Road to Battery Place than it takes to get from 95th Street on the R line to DeKalb Avenue in Brooklyn. The express bus is used by many people to Manhattan for doctors, not just for commuting, but for doctor's appointments, shopping, and to the theater. And only one station, subway station in Bay Ridge, is ADA accessible. All MTA buses are ADA accessible. It appears that the MTA only looked at numbers and an arbitrary distance between stops and not at the human element of how buses are used and how bus stop locations impact riders. Again, I ask all of you to attend the MTA's February 9th workshop on the bus network redesign. This is just the beginning of the conversation. Thank you. Respectfully submitted in less than 2 hours. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you so
And
much.
if anyone wants to see the interactive map, it's very helpful. I'm sure Josephine will make it available to you.
Yes, I did email it out, but I'm going to email it out again so everyone has it. And shout out to Dan. It was a great job again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you again, Doris and Dan. And Josephine, I believe next we have up any old business.
Correct. I don't see any.
Is there any new business? Okay. I see Barbara's hand is up.
Yeah, just a question. I had a conversation with Josephine this past week about, of course, police and traffic enforcement. I had a car parked on my block for about 8-9 days. Alternate came and went, no ticketing. When I went to look at the car, it was a Dodge van with expired Cadillac registration and expired inspection. The plates were all bent out of shape. And then when I called her to report it, nobody came. And then finally the man came like 9, 10, 12 days later. Did anybody know what's going on? And we move our cars for alternate sided street sweeping, but people who don't move the cars, they don't get ticketed. And then you have cars, when you report it, that it's a car where it's not the proper registration. Therefore, this person is driving without insurance. It could be a stolen car. I mean, I don't really know what's going on with enforcement, even when you report it. Josephine, do you know anything?
No, I mean, typically when we reach out to sanitation and we alert them to, locations where cars are not moving for alternate side, they'll take a foreman out. I don't know what the staffing issue was, why they didn't come out that day. It was the day before. For 2 weeks, if it was, I don't know, was it reported to 311 before me? Because the day you reported was the day before, but typically it happens. But again, sanitation staff is limited. The precinct, we've had a little bit more success in going out and getting cars, summonsed and towed. But, I would say as soon as we see it documented, and give me a call and I'll let the precinct know and sanitation know.
Thank you so much. I see Jill's hand is up.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Doris, I'm just curious, with all the hullabaloo that goes on in the city about car use, wanting to decrease car use, why are they decreasing bus service? Was that question addressed?
We don't have an answer for you.
Okay, thank you.
I see Dan has his hand up.
Yep, just a quick addendum as well to that transit report. Doris, amazing work. I did promise at that meeting to check out what had happened in the previous Bronx bus redesign, which has gone through its thing, and whether the MTA had in fact altered things from its draft proposal to its final. I'll just read something very quick. For the BX28, strong community opposition demonstrated that the current alignment is valuable and preferred by existing BX28 bus customers, except basically, yes, a couple of routes were changed in their final addendum. They in fact released 2 final plans due to public input and pressure. So just a reiteration again, show up to that February 9th meeting. The MTA does adjust based on public input, based on this previous Bronx route.
Thank you for the follow-up, Dan.
That's good news. And there is tremendous, I do note, there is a lot of different change.org petitions out there, particularly with the express buses. And I know that the express bus riders many of them are very upset and are organizing. So that's good news, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Jason Chen has his hand up.
Yes, in response to the previous customer's statement about the ASP. So if whenever you observe that the cars parking at that particular area is not moving when we're doing a street cleaning service, you are always welcome to report to 311, and we were taking action within 24 hours. And also we do have enforcement go along with the rooms. And as well as the traffic agent, will also issue summons to the people who not moving their car parking on that block while the ASP is taking place. So if you observe any kind of condition, report to us 311, or you can reach out to the community board, and Josephine can reach out to us. And also, if you observe any DVO vehicle, the vehicle that parked over there for months, for years, without with the play, you can report to us, and then we will taking further investigations. Either the sanitation jurisdictions or the MIPD can take over the vehicle with the place. So please,
Thank you.
report to us.
Thank you so much, Jason. And Larry has his hand up.
You're muted, Larry. Larry, you're muted.
You could hit the space bar, Larry. Still can't hear you. Yep, can hear you
There we
now.
go.
No, at that bus meeting, the transit authority was, their logic is that they eliminate bus stops, so therefore it'll speed service. There seems to be the underlying idea of what they want to do is to speed bus service. So they eliminate bus stops, so people don't use the bus stop. So that's, so that MTA logic, that'll make the buses run faster. So that was what they were saying on the scoring. And
Thank you.
All right. Okay. I don't know if there are any other hands. I don't see any other hands that are up right now.
No.
All right, so now we are ready for our motion to adjourn.
Right?
I
Do I
see
see-
smiles.
I'll move.
Okay, I see
Thank you.
Jana and Dan.
That is seconded, and I'm sure all approve. Good night, everyone.
so
Thank
much.
you
Good
for
night.
your
Good night.
participation.